the biggest event in crypto in the past week is that Bitcoin has fallen below the trend line. And this is, of course, getting people worried, wondering, are we going to see further downside from here, or can we get a recovery from this point? Well, there's a few things I want to discuss, and I want to talk about the ideas that I've seen floating around the crypto social media space. The RSI for Bitcoin on the daily is the big topic right now. Also, people, of course, as always, trying to put a reason behind the pullback, saying it's for this reason or that reason, when of course the answer is always multiple reasons. There's never one reason. There's usually a variety of reasons. So I want to first talk about that real quick. A lot of people have been attributing it to a possible BlackRock manipulation tactic. Elio Trades, by the way, I love his channel, but I disagree with this post. And he's saying that he doesn't even know if this is true. He's just saying the logic is there. That BlackRock is essentially suppressing the Bitcoin price right now to gather up Bitcoin at low levels, to then offload the Bitcoin to their clients at higher levels after the ETF is launched, allowing BlackRock to lock in their profits. Okay, that is a good theory. We've seen it happen before, and that is possible. It could be a reason, but there is nothing to actually back up this idea. And I just saw that somebody in my Patreon Discord posted this tweet. It's kind of funny. It's like people are talking about BlackRock is crashing the price, and then they're saying BlackRock is buying Bitcoin, and it's just a bunch of mumbo jumbo, in my opinion. It's a bunch of nonsense. People don't even know what to think. Are they crashing the price, or are they buying the Bitcoin? Which one is it, right? I mean, it's just all rumors. But if you look at the third largest Bitcoin holder, which is another big piece of news recently, it turns out that it's actually Gemini. Gemini is the one behind this $3.8 billion Bitcoin position. So, I mean, you're just going to see a bunch of different things and all these different rumors, but honestly, there's another reason why Bitcoin dumped. The main reason that we've seen the pullback, in my opinion, where there is actually evidence to support it, is if you look at the S&P 500 and you see that last week we had our biggest pullback since March, then you look at Bitcoin, and Bitcoin responded in the exact same way, both pullbacks. The S&P pulls back, Bitcoin fell in March about 20%. And if you look now, what is the S&P doing? It has a similar style pullback, and Bitcoin fell 20% from the top. So the same type of pullback, multi-week pullback in the S&P 500 resulted in Bitcoin getting a 20% pullback in both areas, both circumstances. They're both the same. So Bitcoin is essentially responding to the S&P's downside, but because the interest in crypto is low and we have regulatory FUD, it doesn't take the S&P's upside calls as much. That is actually how the correlation works in these mid-cycle corrections. I want to mention that we have the Patreon discount until the end of the summer, which is really just a month away. And you can lock in this discounted price for a lifetime, meaning that during the bull market, when everything is, going up, the prices in Patreon are higher, there's a bunch of altcoins mooning, and we're doing altcoin picks and trades, you'll have this price through the whole next cycle. And if you lock in the annual price, it's all the way down to $16 a month, less than $16 a month. You can lock this in today, now, and you'll have this through the next halving and beyond. So don't miss this opportunity. Some of you guys are probably familiar with me talking about this. Now, I want to talk about the next point of discussion here that I've seen on social media. And I'm looking at Bitcoin on the daily chart, by the way, using the Kraken Pro platform. Kraken has changed everything about their platform. Their platform is now fully customizable, and you can set up your charts however you want. And we are now sponsored by Kraken. So if you haven't signed up, click that link below and sign up. Bitcoin right now on the daily chart broke below the trend line. And if you pull up the RSI on the daily chart for Bitcoin, we are sitting at the most oversold levels since COVID. If you go back, the Bitcoin RSI for the daily chart reached sub 20 back during COVID. And people are talking about how, this must mean that Bitcoin has hit the lowest point and that we're just going to rebound and recover from here. I want to bring you guys back to over here in 2018 when Bitcoin hit its lowest point in the bear cycle. Let me go up on log scale. You can see back here in 2018, at the end of 2018, Bitcoin hits the low of 3,100. And that low point was met with an RSI that, we actually hit 10 on the daily RSI, which was lower than COVID. And even after hitting that 10 level on the daily RSI, Bitcoin ends up going lower with a higher low, right? Because if you see when we hit 10, that was actually here at the $4,000 price, and we ended up trending even lower. And that gave us some divergence to bounce off of. And even after that, Bitcoin maintained sideways levels for months to come. So just hitting the oversold level on the RSI does not guarantee an instant recovery or instantly getting higher prices. Doesn't necessarily mean that. It can play out in a variety of ways. During COVID, we hit those oversold levels and bounced because we had massive QE from the Fed, record-breaking money printing from the Fed. That's why this RSI oversold level was pretty much instantly recovered. Same thing happened in the stock market at that time. So that brings me to my point. If we go back to where we are now today for Bitcoin, okay, we've hit the most oversold levels since COVID, but does that mean that Bitcoin is instantly going to get a recovery? Well, it doesn't mean that that's a guarantee at all. Bitcoin can, bounce up, reject the trend line as new resistance and come down. And then at that point, we may see higher levels on the RSI, which could give us a level of bullish divergence at the next low. Something along those lines is totally possible. But this oversold on the daily RSI cannot just be compared to COVID, because once again, that bounce was not due to just being oversold. It was due to money printing, guys. So it is not that simple. It is never that simple. I think that Bitcoin is going to spend some time at lower levels from this point, but of course it depends on what the stock market does. The S&P 500 could look to rebound from this point, maybe even see a higher high before coming back down. And if that does occur, Bitcoin's interest is still pretty low at this point, and Bitcoin could look to bounce, hit some resistance, and then even test a lower level and go sideways before the halving. So for Bitcoin, the daily RSI down trend lines, these are the biggest points of trend shifts. And this is a pretty key one, guys. I mean, if you want to know, when is Bitcoin going to actually rip to the upside and maybe even hit new highs, I'd be looking at these RSI down trend lines. Right here, when Bitcoin broke the RSI down trend line, that was when we saw a moonshot. Bitcoin breaks the RSI down trend line here in June. That is when we see a massive bounce. And Bitcoin is now very far away from this trend line, which means it has the opportunity to act as resistance on a bounce. So if Bitcoin rallies up, we may see the RSI reach that point, but this could just be a point of resistance where we actually end up testing down again. So I don't think that Bitcoin's just going to get out of this easy. I think we're going to see a little bit of price suppression here as interest is still low. And we may see this RSI act as resistance and then eventually break out closer to the end of the year. It all depends. We could bounce up and then break it in any which fashion, but it's more likely to act as resistance, and we would break out toward the end of the year. And Bitcoin is known for having those end of year rallies. Markets have an easier time getting sentiment changes going into a new year. It is a psychological effect where the new year begins and people start to think of different possibilities, literally just based on a number change, the new year. And that is something we see for markets all the time, and especially for Bitcoin. Just looking at the Bitcoin chart, we saw this end of year top in 2017, end of year low in 2018. When 2021 rolled around, we were mooning here. In 2022, we had the end of year top in November, major pullback. So I think that basically as we get closer to 2024, even if Bitcoin is still kind of going sideways, that's when we're going to see a new resurgence of optimism going into 2024. So I think that something along these lines, sideways action, rejection off that RSI down trend line with a pullback before the new year, stuff like that is what I expect to see. And I think also we're going to have to keep a close eye on the stock market because, guys, these pullbacks are not random pullbacks due to just manipulation. It is driven by stock market sentiment. We just see this time and time again. So if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to smash the like and subscribe. We're going to have more videos coming, obviously. Just wanted to talk about a few ideas that were on my mind. And be sure to take advantage of this $19 a month price. You can lock it in for a lifetime. Annual discount brings it down to below $16 a month. Cheapest prices since 2018. And the prices will be going up at the end of the summer. We got altcoin setups in the Discord. So definitely join this today. Take advantage of it today before it's no longer available. I'm going to open up some more slots right before I post this video because they usually sell out quite quickly. I'll see you guys in the next video.